In some of St. Louis's most dangerous neighborhoods, police are outgunned and poorly prepared. In other areas, the heroic actions of police have dramatically reduced violent crime. Tonight, you'll go along for the ride as police patrol some of America's deadliest streets.
We're headed to the 4700 block of Caseyville that has been identified as a trouble spot.
We're heading to 4 block, a violent stretch of Caseyville Road in Washington Park.
To be able to be truly effective, I need additional manpower.
Our guide is Police Chief Aubrey Keller, a former deputy chief in East St. Louis who came out of retirement to help Washington Park.
They killed my baby boy.
When we get there, the chief is approached by a murder victim's mother. Her son was killed right here 2 years ago.
I cannot let go of this right here because I am broke. They have broke me.
Who broke you?
Look, the whole vicinity, because look, they know what's going on, and look, won't nobody say nothing.
There are a lot of mothers like her in Washington Park. In 2011 alone, there were 11 murders in this impoverished village of 4,100 people. That's 1 killing for every 370 residents, a murder rate that was 8 times higher than the city of St. Louis had that year.
Police won't do nothing. Come on now. But they say they still looking for them. You're not looking for them.
Tell him one time and don't tell him again.
The Washington Park Police Department is overwhelmed by the violence and severely underfunded to fight it.
We're continuing a cycle that's vicious and that things are just out of control.
Right now he ain't under arrest.
During a typical week, the village doesn't even have 2 cops on the streets for every shift. Several officers have been prosecuted for misconduct in recent years. Others avoided criminal charges, but are the frequent targets of complaints. The headquarters is in a rundown building that had rotting garbage piling up behind it during the heat of the summer. Officers are paid as little as $12 an hour to serve and protect in one of the most violent communities in America.
Are you confident in your police department, the officers who serve this community?
Well, I'm confident in the oath we take, and my prayer is that all of the officers, they hold that sacred.
Now Chief Keller, on the job since May, says it's time for this broken community to admit that it can't protect itself.
I don't think it's feasible to continue as a police department providing patrol services that are inadequate to the community. And that calls for me to recommend the dissolution of the police department.
The problems facing Washington Park are shared by many other small, poor communities in the St. Louis area.
Prepare to copy 1028.
You gotta respect them, man.
Contraband found in the vehicle.
Where cops are paid little to dodge bullets and save lives in what some prosecutors call war zones.
It's a 45 and it's in between your eyes.
Right next to Washington Park in the village of Brooklyn.
No guns or anything in here?
Cops are always looking for the gun.
All right.
Sir, I got a gun right here on my right.
I know you got a gun. Hey. Get on the ground.
Oh, man.
Hands to your side.
Time is 1 a.m.
In September, we followed Brooklyn police.
Every element possible is coming to Brooklyn.
On their most dangerous shift.
Make sure all the lights and sirens are together. All equipment is active. Everybody's cool. All right. Let's do it, man. Let's get out here.
Overnights on weekends, the clubs in the small village of less than 700 residents draw thousands of partiers from all over the metro area.
Don't make our job any harder. Just please sit in the vehicle and remain quiet. The violence is out here. You know, they're out here, they're robbing people. You know what I mean? They catch you coming from your vehicle. They catch you walking to your vehicle. You know, they'll come put a gun up to you and try to take your car and just take whatever you have.
Brooklyn Police Chief Tony Tomlinson says his officers take up to 15 guns a month off the streets.
Suspended.
Typically in traffic stops late at night near the clubs.
If someone was to fire one of these weapons with all the people that are downtown Brooklyn on a Friday or Saturday night, the effects of that could be catastrophic.
Like a airplane. Go ahead and cuff him.
Some of those weapons were connected to other crimes. How many guns are in the hands of dangerous criminals? In July, federal prosecutors and ATF agents revealed that a massive undercover operation had recovered 267 guns in just a few months from the most dangerous neighborhoods in the St. Louis area. In all, 159 suspects were charged, and many were already off the streets.
It was an opportunity to try to restore the community, to return some of the freedoms that these fine citizens deserve.
The stunning amount of guns in the hands of criminals willing to use them also poses a constant threat to police. A recent report by the FBI found 72 American law enforcement officers were murdered in 2011. 2 out of 3 were killed with handguns. During the last decade, 10 cops and a deputy U.S. Marshal were gunned down in the St. Louis area. Many of them were ambushed. The murdered law enforcement officers were black and white, serving both the inner city and the suburbs.
You can read about things in the paper, but it means nothing to you if you don't live there and understand the outcry.
The concern over gun-related crime and how to address it dominated the Missouri Attorney General's Urban Crime Summit in St. Louis. One of the key topics was the need for a special court docket in the city that focuses on cases of armed robbery and unlawful use of weapons.
It's really quite a complex problem.
One proposal, backed by the circuit attorney, police chief, and mayor, would have devoted 2 prosecutors and 2 judges to the docket, emphasizing speedier trials and higher cash-only bonds. The cases would have been tracked in detail by UMSL criminologist Rick Rosenfeld. But a majority of the circuit judges rejected the idea, insisting they would simply pay closer attention to those cases.
How easy is it to get a semi-automatic gun?
Easy.
Former gang leader Terrell Golson told me what many of today's gangsters think about police.
Do you think gang members are scared of police?
No, not these days, it ain't, nah.
Was it different 20 years ago?
20 years ago, you'd be running and you trying to hide and all that from the police. Yeah, back then you would.
Not today.
No, today is what it is, you know what I'm saying? You up yours, I'm up mine, we're gonna see who get the first draw, you know?
In some of our most dangerous neighborhoods, police solve less than half the homicides.
3 of my sons has been shot.
Kimberly Schooler's 21-year-old son Jordan was shot and killed in East St. Louis in January. But despite that, she refuses to cooperate with police on any other case.
If you knew who shot somebody, you wouldn't tell the police?
No, because they're not gonna do nothing. The way they do it, if they some kin to somebody, they will go and say, well, Craig, well, Kim said that you shot somebody. So then they're gonna come to me. They're not gonna protect me.
The unwritten rules against snitching are the focus of countless rap videos.
Just don't, whatever you do, snitch, 'cause you will get hit. Pray I don't face you. Yes.
Those videos may increase cultural pressure to not cooperate with police, but the strong undercurrent of resistance to cops runs much deeper than that. Repeated national studies have shown that blacks are far more likely to get arrested for drugs, even though surveys show whites are more likely to use them. And on average, blacks get much higher prison sentences than whites for the same crimes.
When's the last time you were arrested for heroin?
2008.
St. Louis County Police say whites from the suburbs are by far the biggest customers of heroin dealers.
Am I being arrested?
You're being detained right now, okay? All right?
County police stopped this couple from St. Charles who admitted they were trying to buy heroin.
He knows I'm using right now.
Do you want help for it?
Yes, I'm supposed to be getting into treatment this week.
Even though they can buy heroin in the suburbs, they came to the north side of St. Louis County, where it's often cheaper, stronger, and easier to get.
Why did you and your boyfriend come down there today?
Buy heroin.
The 33-year-old woman, a self-described addict, agreed to talk with us if we didn't use her name.
I don't get high from it anymore. I haven't in months. But I just use every day so I don't feel the sickness. I can't afford to use it to get high.
Are you afraid that you'll OD someday?
I have.
You have OD'd? How many times?
Twice. Recently, if I wouldn't have had somebody there with me, I would have died.
After several long conversations about the dangers of drug abuse, police finally released her. Investigators say the sale of street narcotics are often the biggest moneymaker for the criminals wreaking havoc in our community.
Hold on, folks.
And that brings us here. In a St. Louis County police car, racing at speeds up to 80 miles an hour, responding to a call to help an officer in need. We are riding with Sergeant Jason Law to see the neighborhood enforcement team in action. But it's only one part of our day inside their operation. We began here with intelligence officer Casey Lambert,
just different than the classification,
who uses software to find the data that helps her track certain crimes,
burglaries, assaults, homicides,
and identify possible hotspots.
I pull up what time they're occurring, what day they're occurring, and the location, and that's how I map them out. And if I have 2 or more in one area, that's when I put together the map.
After she spots a problem area, Officer Lambert looks deep in her files.
And in this file cabinet is a list of all the gangs.
For more information about possible suspects who have been involved in similar activity in the same location.
So this is how we gather the intel that we need for our hotspot policing.
Then she creates a detailed report to consider for a possible plan of attack. That information is brought to a meeting with Captain Troy Doyle. The focus is on following burglaries.
One burglary occurred at 1900 hours.
That may be connected with illegal drug activity. Police keep telling us that drug dealers and users are often involved in other crimes.
Do we got any known burglars and those coaches that you mentioned that's currently wanted for burglary?
Yes.
If he's out there, I'd like to lock him up.
After the meeting, Sergeant Law brings the plan to the neighborhood enforcement team officers.
You guys ready to go out?
Good.
All righty.
When you combine crime fighting driven by data with a focus on building relationships with the community,
30 years of infestation in our communities to get us to the point where we at now.
Then flooding police into hotspots.
What you guys got going on there?
You can have a dramatic impact on crime.
Okay, we're good.
St. Louis County Police say crime is down 40% since they took over policing in Jennings nearly 3 years ago.
Baby's all right. Nobody's in the house.
And in St. Louis City, murders have plunged 31% in the last 6 years. Violent crime overall has also fallen dramatically. One of the keys has been focusing large numbers of police on smaller areas that have much higher rates of murder and gun-related crime. It's called hotspot policing.
No other policing strategy is as effective in reducing crime, violent and some types of property crime, as the hotspot strategy.
Where's everybody at? You got somebody on containment back there? They're coming around.
Can we afford to do it enough to cut violent crime in half in these hotspots? My sense is yes, we can.
But what happens when the cops are crooks?
Did you commit fraud, Larry?
Negative, sir.
Can I read the warrant to you? Why were you arrested today?
Prosecutors have charged cops throughout the region with a variety of crimes over the years. But nowhere has the impact of police corruption been greater than East St. Louis and the surrounding villages of Washington Park, Allerton,
Chief Baxton,
and Brooklyn. Some of those dirty cops were protected by corrupt police chiefs and mayors who were also convicted and went to prison.
The citizens don't trust the police department because they've seen publicly what some of their leaders in the police department have done.
Steve Wigington, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Illinois, says police corruption makes troubled communities more dangerous because it makes law enforcement more difficult.
And it's obvious that you've been drinking a lot.
You can't say these communities are really safe. They're safe to a certain extent, but they're not safe for children and they're not safe for the elderly.
Calvin Dye was raised in East St. Louis. An Illinois state trooper for more than 30 years, he's now an investigator for the St. Clair County State's Attorney's Office and the chair of a new police commission that oversees the departments of East St. Louis,
Tell them to show all units 10-8, okay?
Brooklyn, Allerton, and Washington Park.
We want each community to be able to police themselves. Right now, they are policing themselves the best they can with the resources they have.
The state's attorney's office just created a set of professional requirements for those departments that will attempt to raise the quality of policing by helping them get more resources and training.
Talk to him civil and respect the man.
The commission is receiving guidance from the United States Department of Justice.
We're headed in the right direction.
It's an enormous challenge, especially in Washington Park, where there are more strip clubs than cops.
I watched my baby laid out there with his eyes open, and look, please help me and straighten this out, because they know.
Help is slow in coming.
Come on now, I'm broke down about that.
Some memories can haunt you for the rest of your life.
Just sense.
Decades of fighting crime in an urban war zone have created memories for Chief Keller, too, including a murder he investigated 20 years ago.
You can still see the lifeless body of that librarian. That's how much of an impact it had on you.
The house, the location of the suspect, where he laid.
Now, as he engages in a desperate fight for the safety of Washington Park, the chief of police is sometimes able to offer little more than a prayer for peace.
I'm going to serve this community and do the best that I can do.
Childhood friend of mine was gunned down, murdered, shot 12 times right here.
Coming up next,
Trying to save the lives of the youth.
former gangsters try to stop the violence.
Someone lost their child to the gun violence.
And absent fathers
like the horsey.
come back to their children.
And value what he needs to be doing for his children.
As we focus on healing broken families.
We don't need to reinvent it. Everything we need is right here in our neighborhoods.